Hey, this is Marcus Washington, kind of with your last minute um, week 4 college football picks today. Have a few games going on here. Won't be a long broadcast like the NFL one was last week, but we're going to start out down there with Florida and Tennessee. The line right now is holding on BetMGM at a solid 11. I thought with the injury announcement this morning from Tennessee, that line might move a little bit. It still has not moved. Florida plus 11. The over under 63.5. I'm kind of staring away from the total. I definitely could see that game getting high. I don't know if it's going to get 63.5 high, but I do like Florida plus the points at 11 points. Next is Texas Tech in Texas. This is one of those things where you would come up with all the example. Texas had a good bounce back. Probably the UTSA win is better than what people think. But this is one of those ones where you go with the gut over the numbers. I like Texas Tech at home, plus the 7. This game gets into the fourth quarter. Not saying that Texas Tech wins, but it's like setting up for that to be a hang-around game for the Red Raiders. So going with Texas Tech plus 7. Getting even further out west. I know I started east, getting further out west. We're going to go over to the Pac-12. Oregon's at Washington State today. Once again, one of those things where you can come up with all the logic. Early on, Oregon didn't look good. It looks like they're starting to get things together. But maybe this is a theme of the day outside the Florida game. But I like Washington State to cover. It's 6.5. I just feel like same thing as Texas Tech game, that this game finds its way into the fourth quarter. And it goes one way or the other way. But I like Washington State at home. Wisconsin and Ohio State, that is a night game at the Horseshoe. I hate big numbers. I hate big numbers. I hate big numbers. With all of that said, I'm going with Ohio State minus 19.5, and I hate to do that because typically Wisconsin, because they're running games, so on and so forth in the past, they tend to keep games closer. They limit possessions because they try to control the ball, so on and so forth. But this sets up and for those who remember this game, to me, this kind of sets up like that game that Wisconsin played against Notre Dame over at Soldier Field, where Notre Dame just blew them out the water. I think Ohio State scores in every way possible. They get their offensive touchdowns via the passing game, the running game. I think they even get a defensive touchdown today. I like the Buckeyes minus 19.5. Now, there are some games I'm not going to mess around with, but I like to talk about Arkansas and Texas A&M. Every guy I've seen pick Arkansas plus 2, you know how bullish I've been on Arkansas all year. With the exception of last week, I bet on Arkansas all year, but that's one of those ones that I'm staying away with. But certainly, if I was going, it probably would be an Arkansas pick. Another one I like to stay away with because it just kind of smells one way or the other is Kansas State and Oklahoma. I went back and forth on that with that 13.5 point line. Earlier in the week, I was full bore Kansas State as we've gotten close to Saturday. I kind of started leaning towards Oklahoma being able to cover that number, which is why I stay away from the number. I do tend to talk about these games and tell you that I'm staying away from the number, even though I might have an opinion on the game, because again, gambling can be dangerous. Gambling can be addictive. So it's okay if you start second guessing or third guessing the game and you're not kind of feeling it and you decide to go another way. That's fine. That's okay. And just leave it alone. But again, you still have an opinion on the game. And the last one I kind of went back and forth on was USC Oregon State. This has been one of the most interesting lines. I was reading some articles about the line movement in this, that on Sunday, this line originally started like Oregon State plus 13.5. And then all this money flooded in on Oregon State. And so it started getting around that 7 and now 6. In some places, it's 5.5 right now this morning on BetMGM. It is 6 points. Over under is 70.5. And this is one of those things where if you got the 13.5, you could bet it both ways, right? You could have betted, you got Oregon State early at 13.5. You see the line movement all the way down to 6, and then you bet USC minus 6. So you're playing on both sides of that number. If you played it right, if you got it at the beginning. And this is another one. Again, I understand USC's on the road. I understand what Oregon State has, and the line just screams that you go with the Trojans, even though it's at home. But again, one of those lines that, yes, if you ask me for fun, who would I take? It's going to be USC -6. But when you ask me, are you going to put some real money on that? Probably the answer is no. So other games you might want to take a look at: Utah -15.5 against Arizona State. That's going to be one of those games where you have to ask yourself, how do you feel about the change in coaching? And maybe that's what drives you on that one. And Clemson and Wake Forest, that is 7.5. Another one of those games where if Sam Hartman had been playing all year, now the line might be different if he was playing all year. But probably if Sam Hartman had been playing all year, this is a spot where I would love Wake Forest. But I think he's still kind of getting back in the groove. He's not 100% locked in. That's why it's such a stay away line for me. I've seen a lot of Clemson's -7.5 because of that. There was a highlight reel last night, if you were watching ESPN and watching the UVA game, showing some of the misreads that Hartman has had since he's gotten back. So, again, kind of a stay away game for me, might not be a stay away game for you. And last but not least, and we're going to cut this off after this, it is Maryland and Michigan. And that's one of those situations where I've seen so much of Maryland this year, and Roman Henry and tags, and they got some stuff going for them offensively. They can be really, really explosive. I said it on the wrap up that I did for Maryland's win over SMU, probably a better win than most people think it is. SMU is on the come up. Good passing game. They had dangerous receivers in that game. And Maryland had some adversity on them and came back, showed a lot of character in doing that. And it shows that Loxley has his program going in the right direction. But 17 at the Big House, man, that's a tough number. Now, if it was like 24-25, I would say Maryland. If it was 10-13, I would say Michigan. So it's at that 17 number, really, really not feeling it. So again, games I am feeling, Florida +11, Texas Tech +7. I like Washington State like +6.5, and definitely like Ohio State tonight -19.5. Hey, you guys, go out there, enjoy your college football Saturday. If you are gambling on these games, please gamble responsibly. And this is Marcus Washington from MTC Media.